Right now, one tiny moth can make you throw away an entire bag of flour. You see webbing near the opening, perhaps a larva curled against the paper, and the food instantly becomes contaminated. The loss is annoying, but replaceable. For an ancient household, the same discovery could mean hunger months later. The obvious defense seems simple: cover the food, crush whatever crawls out, and hope. Except many of the worst storage insects do not arrive dramatically from outside. A female weevil can place an egg inside a grain kernel. The larva grows hidden within the food, eating the center while the surface still looks normal. By the time small holes appear, the harvest has already become a nursery. So ancient people were not merely protecting grain from insects they could see. They were fighting an invisible process without microscopes, refrigeration, sealed plastic, or any knowledge of oxygen chemistry. How did they do it? The first defense began before storage. Freshly harvested grain contains moisture. Moist grain breathes, warms, supports mold, and gives insects better conditions for development. Ancient farmers could not measure a moisture percentage, but they could spread grain beneath the sun, turn it, feel it, bite it, listen to how it sounded, and compare which batches survived. Dry food lasted. Damp food changed smell, clumped, heated, or erupted with life. That was observation, not primitive luck. Drying also changed the battlefield. Many stored product insects reproduce faster when warmth and moisture rise together. Sun exposure could drive moisture down and disturb insects already present. Winnowing, shaking, and sieving remove broken kernels, eggs on exposed surfaces, larvae, and debris that secondary pests feed upon. None of these steps guaranteed safety. Together, they reduced the number of opportunities for a small infestation to become a takeover. Then ancient storage became architecture. In 2009, archaeologists Ian Keeged and Bill Finlayson described purpose-built granaries at Draa, near the Dead Sea in Jordan, dating to roughly 11,300 years ago. One well-preserved circular structure contained notched stones that supported wooden beams and a suspended floor. Air could move beneath the stored plants, while the raised platform helped separate food from damp ground and rodents. The important detail is the date. These people were building sophisticated storage before fully domesticated crops transformed the region. Storage was not simply a reward produced by agriculture. It may have helped create the pressure and stability from which agriculture expanded. The floor was also an insect defense, even if insects were not its only target. Dampness below a pile of grain creates warmer, softer pockets where molds and pests can multiply. Elevation and ventilation do not kill every beetle, but they make the environment less forgiving. Ancient people were not defeating nature with one invention. They were removing advantages from it. Other communities used the opposite strategy. Instead of allowing air to circulate around a smaller store, they placed dry grain inside jars, bins, baskets coated with clay, or underground pits, then sealed the opening. At first this seems contradictory. Airflow protects food, yet airtightness also protects food. Both can work at different stages. Before storage, grain must be dry. During storage, a tightly sealed container can prevent new insects from entering. The insects and grain already inside continue consuming oxygen and releasing carbon dioxide. In a sufficiently airtight space, the atmosphere gradually becomes hostile to insect survival and reproduction. Ancient people did not need to understand gases. They only needed to notice that one carefully sealed pit opened clean while another, cracked at the rim, opened alive. But sealing carried danger. Moist grain trapped without ventilation could heat, mold, and spoil. Water entering an underground pit could destroy everything. A successful store therefore depended on timing, dryness, lining, soil, weather, and the quality of the seal. The container was not the technology by itself. The procedure was. Up to this point, ancient pest control looks mostly physical: sunlight, airflow, barriers, and controlled atmosphere. Then the explanation changes. People also place substances between insects and food. A 1995 review led by archaeologist Eva Panagiotokopoulou examined evidence from late Bronze Age acrotiri on Santorini and other ancient sources. The researchers argued that storerooms used a broad defensive toolkit that could include airtight vessels, plant materials, oils, minerals, and ash. Some ingredients may have repelled pests through odor. Others created dry, abrasive conditions. The evidence suggests deliberate treatment, although archaeology rarely preserves the exact recipe or the reasoning behind it. Ash was especially useful because nearly every fire produced it. To you, ash looks like waste. To a beetle, fine mineral particles can become a physical attack. Dust can damage the waxy outer layer that helps an insect retain water. Mixed through grain or spread across a surface, it can restrict movement, fill spaces between kernels, and accelerate dehydration. Unlike a poison that requires a precise plant, ash was renewable, storable, and difficult for insects to evolve around because it attacked their bodies mechanically. In 2002, environmental archaeologist Tom Hackbigel tested ash against beetles while reviewing its traditional and prehistoric use. Washed ash acted faster than unwashed ash, shortening the average mortality period by about 30% and the knockdown period by 45%. The experiment did not prove that every ancient ash deposit was insecticide. It showed that a practice visible in historical and ethnographic records had a real mechanism. Plants created another layer. Aromatic leaves, smoke, oils, and strongly scented herbs could discourage insects, mask attractive odors, or interfere with movement and feeding. Yet this is where caution matters. A leaf found beside grain may have been insect repellent, flavoring, packing material, ritual material, or accidental debris. Ancient storage rooms preserve objects. They do not preserve explanations. The strongest skeptic can therefore say something reasonable. Perhaps many successful methods were discovered by trial and error without anyone understanding insects as a category. Maybe people repeated rituals because elders demanded them. Perhaps a layer of ash symbolized cleanliness and only accidentally killed pests. That objection cannot be completely removed. But trial and error is still knowledge when failure means starvation. If a household repeatedly dried grain longer, rejected cracked containers, renewed ash, cleaned old stores, and separated infested food, the system could become culturally precise without becoming scientifically explicit. The explanation might be practical, symbolic, and biological at the same time. A ritual of purification can survive because it feels meaningful and because fewer beetles emerge afterward. There was no perfect defense. Ancient grain stores still contained weevils, beetles, moths, mites, and their damage. People probably inspected supplies, skimmed insects away, sifted flour, reheated food, fed damaged grain to animals, or simply ate what remained. Modern disgust depends partly on abundance. Hunger changes the acceptable number of legs in dinner. The darker truth is that storage itself created the pest problem at a new scale. A field scatters seeds across space. A granary concentrates thousands of edible kernels in darkness and protects them from weather. It is a human achievement and an insect paradise. Once communities stored surpluses, insects that could exploit those stores gained reliable habitats and traveled with grain along migration and trade routes. Humans did not merely defend food from pests. Human settlement helped build the world in which storage pests flourished. So the opening question was too small. Ancient people protected food through drying, cleaning, elevation, ventilation, sealing, ash, smoke, plants, and constant inspection. But no single method explains their success. Protection came from stacking imperfect barriers, learning which failures repeated, and turning those lessons into architecture and custom. Return to that moth in your flower. You see contamination and throw the bag away. An ancient person saw evidence. The grain was too damp, the seal had failed, the store needed cleaning, or the ash had thinned. The insect was not only an enemy. It was a warning.